16 adversaries. No one, on earth, is exempt from having to cope with adversaries in his lifetime. They cross the paths of every person, scrutinizing imperfections and making demands. Possessed by villainous feelings, they crave fault-finding and are never satisfied. Some of them disguise with a smile the feelings of animosity which torment them. When taking a part in recreational gatherings or other activities, they are annoyed and depressed, which keeps them busy devising well-planned schemes, or impulsive acts in sudden retaliations of an idiosyncrasy they cannot control. Most of them do not even know the reason why they become adversaries, if a reason could ever justify unfriendly attitudes. They are simply victims of lower feelings, intoxicated by the vapors of sickly mental fixations in which they presume to be emotionally accomplished. When someone else attains certain goals that were denied to them, they adopt the insensible attitude of envy and dislike, transforming themselves in heartless tormentors. Paralyzed by inner problems of negative complexes, they imagine themselves betrayed and belittled. This turns them into angry, rebellious, and ruthless opponents. Unwilling to offer the fair and valuable share of sacrifices that others do in their daily struggle, they proceed from jealousy to aversion, thus becoming true censors and persecutors. When individuals nurture a deep and lasting hurt, their sense of judgment is dulled by arrogance, and they become a problem to their fellow man. In doing so, they kindle ignoble feelings, thereby transforming themselves into a singular type of adversaries. One can always find reasons to antagonize other people. Moral weakness uses false arguments to justify its own imperfections and to transfer them onto someone else. Moral weakness lacks the courage to face and correct itself, to acquire values and rise spiritually, thus changing its outlook and seeing things as they are. The view from a valley is limited by the narrow horizon. Similarly, people's opinions of others take on the colors of the observer's lenses. Idealists of all ranks have suffered the assaults of their adversaries. Heroes of every noble cause have endured their sharp spears and profusion of darts. Saints and apostles of all times have been afflicted by their floggings and insults. The heralds of science and knowledge did not escape the aim of their weapons. Many had to endure their shameful tortures. Whether you rise to the lights of redemption through love, or whether you go to the underworld zone to alleviate suffering, they are always after you. The reason is they prefer to dwell in that useless parasitic way of life. Good deeds irritate them, for in man are still traces of the primitive stages from where he emerged. They deem it easier to persecute and disturb than to bring peace and upliftment. They do not know what they are doing, or prefer not to know, at least temporarily. They abound everywhere. You run into them on the earth in their physical form, as well as, beyond it, in spirit, always surrendering to those wicked and ridiculous attitudes. Everyone feels their assaults. However, if you make good use of them, they turn out to be indirectly beneficial. Unknowingly, they will help you discover the moral weaknesses in yourself which you must correct. They will call your attention to faults that mar your conduct. They will point out character flaws in your behavior of which you had been unaware. They will tell you bluntly and in detail the mistakes you made which had gone unnoticed. They will train you in patience and detachment by showing you unimportant errors and minor mistakes. They will demand austerity in your examples and optimism in your attitude, thus instigating you to humility. They will exaggerate their negative reports, giving you no rest or truce, which, at the same time, will help to liberate you from them. What is important is that you do not become the enemy or persecutor of anyone. Turn to the world within, removing the real enemies of peace, deep-seated in every person, for that is where they thrive and multiply. You must face their opposition and resist their many assaults until you attain victory. Whenever someone reacts to an aggressor, he establishes attunement with him, giving origin to an interdependence of a psychic nature, a sort of mental commerce of hatred. The result of such an exchange is the detrimental subjugation of both parties involved. Doubtless, the effort and resistance needed have to be continuous, for adversaries are born and reborn, and easily multiply in the lower levels of the soul. This is why the Lord has advised prayer and watchfulness, so that man may overcome temptation. In such a continuous struggle, there will be many heartaches, which will ultimately bring total health, joy, and peace. In order to enjoy these, make an effort to discipline your character by acquiring healthy habits and performing noble acts. By being an example of faith, love, and charity, you will gradually transform those enemies who gave you trouble into helpers of your progress, and perhaps real brothers and fellow workers. This will you do if you will decide not to return evil for evil, either in deeds or in thought, by loving them and seeing in them friends who are actually sick in need of your help, for your happiness and theirs. On Sunday's new chapter of the Word, contribute by making donations with the publishing of works in the English language. Subscribe to our networks at Casa de Reading KO YouTube and Facebook.